Hi, everybody. This is Mike Anuzzi at musicaccelerator.com. We are talking with an incredible musician, singer-songwriter, and executive director of West Coast Songwriters. He has helped songwriters, including myself, from around the world to learn their craft and establish their careers. He has connected so many people in the industry together. I am so grateful for his time with us here today. Please welcome Ian Crombie. Ian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks, Mike.
Awesome. Let's dive right into this. Ian, what sparked your interest with music?
Well, initially, I think it was that my cousin had a plastic Elvis guitar, and we used to go, at my aunt's house, there's a thing called the posh room. So you'd have the room that everybody was always hanging out in, but there's a posh room that nobody ever went in except if they had special guests over. So this plastic Elvis was in, and I used to creep in there and play my cousin's plastic Elvis when nobody was around. And I kind of that got me into it. And then I taught my dad into buying me a guitar, and that was when I was 11 when I first got my first guitar.
Awesome. So how did you learn your skill? How did you learn playing the guitar?
Just banging away at it, I mean, the thing is, I used to listen to a lot of records, the old record player, actually the record player at my parents' house became my first amplifier because, we didn't have much money. I mean, I didn't have much money. So I used to take the wires off the needle and hook it up to a cable and plug my guitar into it and play through that. But I had to put it all back together again before my parents got home. So they could play Oklahoma or wherever else they were listening to at the time.
That is so funny. You were such a rebel.
Well, I mean, you kind of do what you have to do, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Learning as you go, figuring things out at a young age.
Yeah, and I say, as regards playing the guitar, I didn't take any lessons. I did actually. I think I got some chords off. Somebody wrote down some chords for me to practice on, and that kind of got me started. And I think I consider myself more of a rhythm player than anything. And, I really enjoy trying to figure out rhythms, for songs and stuff like that rather than being the lead guitarist, you know what I mean?
Awesome. Well, I know that you are a singer-songwriter. You've written songs since you were a kid, I assume, and you've played in bands, from the start of you playing guitar. How did you transition from where you were at then to working in the music industry to where you are at today?
Well, I guess it's steps, So, first of all, I made my first record in England in 1967. I mean, what happened was I started to get into bands in high school, and actually just when I was around 14, I think. And then the bands I was in, we did we played a lot. We played 4 and 5 nights a week and stuff like that, as well as wherever else I was working a regular job. And then I came over to the States in 1980 with an English band on a rip-off tour. And, I learned a lot from that. But then also, when I was over here, I was reading through the telephone book, which they used to have in the old days, and saw, Northern California Songwriters is what it was called at the time. And I saw the Songwriters Association, and I thought, I wonder what they do, And I called up and met up with the executive director at the time, and I kind of got involved. I got involved by volunteering for the organization, and then in the end, I was asked if I wanted to just look after it for a couple of weeks, and that was almost 30 years ago.
Wow, that is so great. It seems like there's a common theme with everyone I talk to about this. It's more like you might not know the answer when you start, but you kind of dive right in and you'll figure it out as you go, right?
Right. And they say never say no, I've heard other people say this, I remember Mike Walden, somebody said, yeah, can you produce my record? Yeah, I can do that. And, he said, I had no idea. I said, but, once you start doing it, that's how you learn it. And I'm a kind of person that learns as I physically do things. I'm terrible for reading manuals, and I've worked on a lot of computer programs and never ever read any of the books on them or anything. I just figured my way through them.
Interesting. That is so cool. I guess I was going to ask you how you learned your skill. I mean, it is definitely, my college, the slogan of my school, or the catchphrase of the school, was learn by doing. I went to Cal Poly San
Right.
Luis Obispo. It's a polytechnic university. It was learn by doing. It
Yeah.
sounds like that's kind of your method as well.
Yeah. Well, also, when I was asked to do the West Coast Songwriters or Northern California Songwriters at the time, I was offered the job. I didn't even know if I wanted it. I was offered the job, and then I feel, well, we should, talk to Joni about it, and then say, oh, well, let's just give this a try. And the day I took the job, I didn't know any more than I did the day before, but I became the expert because people would call you up asking you questions.
Right.
And if I didn't know the answer, I'd ask somebody else. I mean, the thing is, I had a lot of, the experience I had was, writing songs, pretty much all my life. And then also playing in bands for years. So I had all that experience, but a lot of stuff that would come up would be, I've got my song, it's going to come out on the radio. What do I do now? All that kind of stuff. And as I say, I've figured, trudged along and figured everything out by asking questions. And I think there's never a wrong question. And when people ask me to say, I have a question, it's going to sound stupid. I say, well, it'll only sound stupid if you don't ask it.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely going to plug West Coast Songwriters one more time. I know I mentioned it, but if you're not familiar with it, check out West Coast Songwriters. Ian is the executive director of West Coast Songwriters. It is an incredible organization. There is just a vast amount of knowledge and connection that Ian provides and the rest of the group provides for everyone. We're all in this kind of together, and we definitely learn on the day-to-day. Ian, I got to ask you, what is your day-to-day like?
What's it like? It's usually a mishmash of things, and that's what I kind of like about it, because I'm never doing one thing. Like today I'm doing accounts. We just finished doing the taxes for West Coast Songwriters because they're due May 15th. So I mean, it sounds stupid, but doing that, and then also setting up some events that would, I'm talking with Larry Batiste, who's a East Bay producer and writer, hit writer, and setting up a class with him. We're going to do some more free classes for members and stuff like that. So doing that, and then also, working with Norman of Norman Productions. He's got an office in Nashville that's on Curb Records. He's looking for songs, and I'm working with him to do a review that we're doing this month. So.
That is so cool, Ian. I think that it is just really great what you're doing. I only have a couple more questions for you today.
Yeah, fine.
For your personal career, for your personal songwriting and everything, what's coming up for you?
Well, I got a song on Nicole McGuire's new record, and that just came out on April 22nd. And so, for me, what I'm going to do is spend more time in the studio and getting down to, I've got all these ideas I've written down I have my little notebook that I carry around with me, or don't carry around with me, but it's where I go to put my ideas in. And most times now, I'll talk into my phone to get an idea if I have an idea, even if it's in the middle of the night, So I'll be talking quietly into my phone with an idea. So what I'm going to do now is look at all my ideas and start to work on the next song, basically, wherever that will be.
That is such a great piece of advice. I know I heard that Taylor Swift has a recorder in her hand at all times and always ready with ideas. As a songwriter, you need to be able to record that as quickly as possible to keep those ideas, because you might lose them, right?
Yeah, well, you think you're going to remember, but you never do. It's like, if I wake up and think, oh, that's a great idea, and, it's gone. And even when I'm watching TV shows or films and stuff like that, recently there's two where I've had this, thought, oh, that sounds good. But I didn't put the idea down, and I can't remember now what, I've looked through the TV show again to figure out what it was, because, you can go back and watch it again. But I couldn't figure out what it was that would spur the idea. So you really do need to get it down, and, so you have it for, it's funny because I was talking to Imogen Heap, if you know who she is. So she was saying that she used to keep a notebook of all her ideas, but now she doesn't. She said, I don't, because it's so much time now. It's like if I go and look at that book, I can't figure out what it was I was thinking about. So I guess it works. Different things work for different people. So she just sits down at the keyboard and writes a song. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like an great artist perspective. You know, sometimes too, I'm going to mention. I know some people might take advice from what you said about waking up in the middle of the night kind of thing and having it ready for you. I think it's really great to have access to that instantly, even if it is in the middle of the night. Sometimes that's the best time with no distraction around to just be able to dive right into what your creative brain is telling you to do.
Right, and you know, I have this thing where if I'm working on a song, I try and think about it just when I'm going to sleep. And it's funny, sometimes when I first wake up, the complete idea will come back to me because it's it's working on its own when I'm not doing anything. You know, when I'm sleeping, it's almost like it's figuring it all out. So in the morning when I wake up, start to think about it again, and it'll just pop into my head. So you know, I mean, all these little things. But it's funny because one night, you know, I'm married and Joni's sleeping next to me, and I had this idea in my head, and so I thought I got to talk this into the phone. So I'm trying to whisper so I don't wake up, but then in the end she wakes up saying, "What? You know, you're talking to me." So.
That is hilarious. Wow. I just have one more question for you today, Ian.
Yeah.
What is the best piece of advice that you can offer someone or that somebody offered you about getting into the music industry or sustaining a career in the music industry?
I'm not 100% sure what my total answer would be, but I mean, one of the things I would say is be true to yourself. I think that, you know, write about what you know and be honest about it. Because if you're not honest about it, it won't come across as honest and people won't care. You have to care about what you write about. So, you know, and it doesn't have to happen to you. You can just be I mean, I love going to airports or, you know, most people hate being in an airport. I do because I'm looking at interaction between people and try and figure out what's going on. And also, sometimes we stay down at a friend's down in Venice Beach, and he's right on the beach. And I keep getting these. If you sit there, you can hear little snippets of people's conversations as they go by. So anyway, but I mean, always go from the truth side of it, you know, and care about what you write about.
Wow, that is such a great piece of advice. I really appreciate that. I guess, Ian, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day with sharing your experience with us. And again, I want to mention West Coast Songwriters. If you're not familiar with it, definitely hop on their website, check out all the events they have to offer, become a member, and learn from Ian and all the other people at West Coast Songwriters. There's a ton of great artists that, like I said, Ian has helped build their careers. With all of this advice today, I hope that you all have had the opportunity to learn something. Once again, thank you to Ian Crombie for sharing your experience today with us. This is Mike Anuzzi at musicaccelerator.com. We will see you again soon.